1970 AMC Gremlin. The AMC Gremlin is often remembered as a cheap, quirky little car, but let's be honest, it looked like somebody built only 2/3 of a real vehicle and called it a day. AMC marketed it as a budget-friendly option, selling it at nearly 2/3 the cost of most compact cars at the time, which oddly fit its chopped-down design. Despite its strange proportions and the criticism it received, the Gremlin was actually a surprising sales success for AMC, thanks to its low cost, decent practicality, and appeal to younger buyers. Rumor has it that AMC's design chief Dick Teague almost approved an even uglier version, which makes you wonder just how bizarre things could have gotten if that design had made it to production. 1970 Buick Riviera. The first-generation Buick Riviera was a masterpiece, elegant, sporty, and luxurious. But by 1970, the magic was gone. The Riviera's design had grown bloated, with sagging lines and rear fenders so oversized they seemed to swallow the wheels. Even the once proud front grille now looked as though it was melting off the face of the car. What had once been a sleek, refined coupe was now heavy and uninspired. Buyers were not impressed, and Riviera sales dropped sharply, signaling that Buick had lost its design edge. Thankfully, Buick redeemed itself a year later with the dramatic and now iconic boat tail design of 1971, which restored some of the Riviera's lost glamour. 1970 Ford Thunderbird. The Ford Thunderbird was once celebrated as one of America's most stylish, personal luxury cars, but by 1970, the design had taken a wrong turn. Instead of elegance and balance, Ford slapped a massive bird beak grille on the front end, giving the car a comically awkward face. This oversized, pointed grille was meant to look aggressive and commanding, but instead it resembled a giant costume mask glued onto a car. The rest of the bodywork looked heavy and uninspired, and what had once been a symbol of cool sophistication had devolved into a clumsy attempt at intimidation. 1970 Porsche 914. The Porsche 914 was a mid-engine sports car built in partnership with Volkswagen, and while it was affordable and undeniably fun to drive, it was never a beauty. With its awkwardly long side profile, flat bodywork, and Targa-style removable roof panel, the car looked more like a DIY kit car than a sleek German sports machine. Its design lacked the timeless elegance of the 911 and instead gave off a boxy, utilitarian vibe. Although it won fans for its handling and price point, the 914 never became a dream car. Many enthusiasts joked that it was better suited for a math teacher's driveway than for poster status in a teenager's bedroom. 1970 Saab Sonnet III. Saab had high hopes for the Sonnet III, hoping it would appeal to style-conscious American buyers, but instead it delivered one of the strangest-looking sports cars of the decade. The front end was dominated by an absurdly long overhang, while the rear was short and stubby, giving the car bizarre proportions. To make matters worse, U.S. safety regulations forced Saab to add massive black bumpers, which looked tacked on and ruined what little balance the design had. While the Sonnet III had its quirky charm and Saab's usual engineering cleverness, its looks were simply too odd to win mainstream appeal, leaving it as more of an automotive curiosity than a desirable sports car. 1972 Subaru GL Coupe. When Subaru entered the U.S. market, it was known for practical, dependable small cars. The 1972 GL Coupe, however, was its attempt to inject some style into the lineup, and it didn't exactly work. The car looked like someone had designed a long, narrow body and then chopped the rear off abruptly with a saw. The result was a coupe with strange proportions, a weirdly short tail, and a profile that seemed unfinished. While it was affordable and reasonably efficient, the GL Coupe was hardly a car to get excited about. Instead, it looked more laughable than fashionable, and buyers were not swayed by its attempt at sportiness. 1973 Leland P76. The Leland P76 was British Leyland's attempt to break into the Australian full-size car market, but it quickly became a cautionary tale in automotive failure. The P76 was large and wedge-shaped, with clumsy, unattractive styling that turned few heads for the right reasons. While it did boast an enormous trunk capable of fitting a 44-gallon drum, one of its few selling points, the car was plagued by terrible quality control and reliability issues. Owners quickly grew frustrated with breakdowns, and the P76 developed a reputation as one of the least dependable cars of its era. After just 2 years, the car was quietly discontinued, remembered more for its disappointment than its potential. 1973 Reliant Robin. Few cars are as infamous as the Reliant Robin. A 3-wheeled oddity, it was designed to be cheap and lightweight, but its narrow single front wheel made it dangerously unstable. The tall, narrow body and awkward proportions made it look more like a motorized mobility scooter than a proper car. To make matters worse, the Robin had a nasty tendency to tip over during sharp turns, a flaw that was mercilessly mocked on television comedy shows for decades. While it achieved a cult following in the UK thanks to its affordability and uniqueness, the Robin remains one of the automotive world's greatest punchlines. 1974 Bricklin SV-1. The Bricklin SV-1 was meant to be a futuristic safety sports car from Canada, but instead it turned into one of the most notorious flops of the decade. Its heavy gull-wing doors often malfunctioned, leaving owners trapped inside, while its plastic body panels warped and faded quickly. The design itself was clunky with awkward proportions and bumpers that looked glued on as an afterthought. While the bright safety colors like orange and lime green made it stand out, they also made its flaws even more obvious. Instead of being revolutionary, the SV-1 became a cautionary tale of over-promising and under-delivering in the car industry. 1974 Sebring Vanguard City Car. The Sebring Vanguard City Car was one of the first mass-produced electric cars in America, but unfortunately it looked more like a child's toy than a serious automobile. With its wedge-shaped design, flat panels, and tiny wheels, it strongly resembled a rolling block of cheese or a golf cart. Its performance didn't help its reputation. The city car had a painfully slow top speed and a range of only about 40 miles. While it represented an early attempt at eco-friendly transportation, it became more of a punchline than a pioneer, remembered for its glad looks and limited usefulness. 1974 Ford Mustang II. The Mustang II remains one of the most controversial cars ever to wear the Mustang badge. Downsized to meet fuel economy standards and styled more like a luxury coupe than a sporty pony car, it was a drastic departure from the Mustang's original spirit. The Ghia trim with its padded vinyl roof, tiny opera windows, and borrowed Granada hubcaps was especially reviled. Many enthusiasts saw it as a betrayal of the Mustang's muscle car heritage, trading performance for comfort in all the wrong ways. While it sold reasonably well during the fuel crisis, its reputation among enthusiasts has remained largely negative. 1974 Vandenlass 1500. The Vandenlass 1500 was essentially an Austin Allegro with some upscale touches, and that was hardly a good starting point. British Leyland attempted to pass it off as a luxury compact by adding leather seats, wood trim, and even tiny fold-down picnic tables in the back. Unfortunately, no amount of badge engineering could hide the Allegro's awkward, dumpy styling and notoriously poor reliability. Buyers ended up with a car that was both unattractive and untrustworthy, proving that a fancy grille and chrome trim couldn't disguise the flaws underneath. 1975 AMC Pacer. The AMC Pacer was one of the most instantly recognizable cars of the 1970s, but not for the right reasons. Nicknamed the Rolling Fishbowl, it featured enormous glass windows that made occupants feel like they were on display. Its stubby, bulbous body and oddly wide stance made it look clumsy and cartoonish, despite being marketed as futuristic. While it offered decent interior space and some innovative ideas, the Pacer quickly became a cultural punchline, a symbol of 70s weirdness rather than automotive progress. 1975 British Leyland Princess. The British Leyland Princess was another example of the company's flawed approach to car design. It looked like a hatchback, but wasn't. Instead, it had a small, impractical trunk opening that made loading difficult. Combined with its wedge-shaped styling, questionable reliability, and lack of refinement, the Princess quickly earned a poor reputation. While it was intended to be modern and forward-thinking, it ended up as yet another embarrassment for British Leyland, a car mocked for its ugliness and its lack of substance. 1977 Dotson 206 SX. The Dotson 200 SX was supposed to offer a sporty alternative in the late 70s, but it fell far short of expectations. Compared to the iconic Dotson 240Z, the 200 SX was underpowered, thirsty, and prone to rust. Its styling was uninspired, with a grille that bizarrely resembled an electric shaver and bland lines that failed to excite. While it did offer affordable transportation, it lacked the performance and charisma buyers wanted, leaving it in the shadow of Dotson's true sports car. For many, it was a huge disappointment. 1977 Lada Cabalero. The Lada Cabalero was one of the strangest creations of the decade, essentially a Chevrolet Chevette that had been buried under layers of fiberglass to try and mimic the look of a Monte Carlo. The result was a lumpy, awkward, and misshapen car that somehow managed to look worse than the cheap compact it was based on. With its heavy panels and odd styling cues, the Caballero stood out for all the wrong reasons. It became one of those cars that people remembered not because it was good, but because it was so bizarrely wrong. 1977 Volvo 262C. Volvo teamed up with the Italian design house Bertoni to create the 262C, a luxury coupe meant to elevate the brand's image. Instead, the result was one of the most awkward Volvos ever built. To make it stylish, they chopped the roofline so low that tall passengers couldn't sit comfortably inside. The proportions were strange and boxy, and the car looked squashed and heavy rather than elegant. While it had upscale features inside, its exterior design left much to be desired, and it remains remembered more as a failed experiment than as a design triumph. 1978 Oldsmobile Cutless Aeroback. Oldsmobile tried to go European with the Cutlass Aeroback, but the gamble backfired spectacularly. The sloping fastback-style rear was meant to look modern, but it clashed with the car's otherwise boxy design, making it appear awkward and unattractive. Buyers hated the styling immediately, and sales were so poor that GM rushed to redesign the car within just 2 years. Instead of modernizing the Cutlass line, the Aeroback became a case study on how quickly a misstep in styling could sink a model's reputation.